Afternoon, everyone. Hope you're all doing well, and thank you so much for joining our presentation. Today, we're going to have a shareholder update call between Recruiter.com Group Inc. and GoLogiq regarding our recently announced transaction. Thank you again for your interest in our company, and we're very excited to highlight the transaction and discuss our business going forward. To give you some opening remarks, I'm now going to turn it over to Evan Sohn, who is chairman of Recruiter.com Group Inc., RCRT.
Thank you so much, Miles, and thank you to everyone who's joining us on this call today. Really appreciate you taking out the time to learn more about Recruiter.com, RCRT, and our transaction with GoLogiq. A little bit of a disclaimer, just so everyone could see. Please consult our 10K, our filings, our 8K filings for our financials from 2022, as well as various risks associated with the business, and obviously use your best judgment and do your own market research accordingly. Just to give you a little bit of the agenda for today, I'm going to give some opening remarks and then review the proposed transaction. I will then introducing everyone to Brett Swen, the CEO of GoLogiq. He'll present the GoLogiq assets, their business, their strategy, as well as their management team. We'll then reintroduce Miles Jennings. So thank you, Miles. Who'll be presenting the Cogno Group spinout, which is the spinout from RCRT. And then we'll talk about some next steps, overall next steps for shareholders. So the last 2 years of market turmoil have really prompted a shift in my overall and our overall understanding of valuations, of corporate valuations. I think previously the market rewarded internalized growth, and as RCRT grew from 5 million in 2020 to over 25 million in 22. However, the market sentiment really changed, and the focus went from revenue value to really cash value. And as a result, we determined back in November of 22 that one of our greatest assets really is our NASDAQ public listing. And to really unlock that value for the RCRT shareholders, we embarked in conjunction with Joseph Gunner, our investment banking firm, on a process to look at doing a transaction involving our NASDAQ public listing. Joseph Gunner brought us over 20 potential reverse candidates or potential candidates, and did lots of lot of meetings, a lot of diligence around them. And our search criteria really included a management team ready for NASDAQ, a company driving significant revenue with room for even more significant growth, and an industry that's really exciting. And I was thrilled to really be introduced to Brent and the overall team at GoLogiq. Just to give a little bit of understanding of the actual transaction itself, the proposed transaction that we announced in June, on June 6th, and again, these are all filed with public filings in general. You can see those on our 8K and our press releases. The June 6th transaction really included that RCRT would acquire various assets of GoLogiq, and those assets would be including e-wallets, a mobile payment, and other things that Brent's really going to talk about from an asset perspective. In consideration, GoLogiq would receive of RCRT shares equal to 84% of RCRT, with the existing RCRT shareholders maintaining approximately 16%. So 84% for the GoLogiq shareholders, 16% for the RCRT shareholders, the current RCRT shareholders. The agreement valued the combined companies at approximately $105 million, which is substantially above the current market capitalization of RCRT, which is currently around, let's say, $4.5 million market capitalization, with 16% of that valuing the business at around $17 million. So that really is the proposed transaction, which will also include a spinout, and we'll talk about the spinout in just a few moments. But we really want to bring some more attention to really who is GoLogiq, who is their management team, and why we at RCRT were so excited to really invest our NASDAQ listing in this company and in these people. So I'd like to introduce everyone now to, sorry about that. I'd like to everyone now, it's my privilege to introduce Brent Swen, the interim chief executive officer and chairman of GoLogiq. Brent has 31 years of experience in the capital markets, investment banking industry, and was the youngest hire of Bear Stearns merger arbitrage department in 1987. He also has significant experience in telecom, media, and technology, both as an advisor and as an investor. He's got significant operational experience, both startup and expansion stage with companies in Silicon Valley during the 1990s, emerging markets experience in Asia, Eastern Europe, and Latin America, and more recently, mobile and fintech companies in Southeast Asia. And it's my privilege now to turn the microphone and the stage over to Brent. So Brent, take it away.
Wonderful. Thank you, Evan, and good afternoon to everyone. And thank you for having us here today. As Evan mentioned, my name is Brent Swen. I am the interim CEO of GoLogiq. I'm going to overview the businesses that are coming into RCRT and then briefly introduce a few of our team. I'm not going to read the slides to you all. I know you're capable of that. I will speak around them instead and attempt to highlight the best parts of them. So with that, Miles, would you mind going to the next slide, please? Thank you. So we have taken a three-phase strategy to going forward with RCRT. All three of these phases are either in place or underway now, so there's nothing that's greenfield or unexplored, and so we are not a startup. I will elaborate on each one of these three in the coming slides. I will also note that on some things we are deliberately general and a bit vague. The reason why is because there are certain trade secrets and practices that have just evolved recently, and there is little to no competition in terms of what we're doing specifically. So we do not identify it in specifics. There is only one company that we know of that is publicly traded that is utilizing the same strategy and approach. And their third year of business, they did 1.2 billion. Most of that has come recently because of the advent of something that is quite well known and talked about. Although I believe that it is for many more of a buzzword or a trend. I'll go into that shortly. Phase one, we call Project X. Phase two are the acquisitions that we have lined up. These are specifically of fintech-based companies. And then phase three, which for the past 8 years, we've just called it deep learning, but I believe others call it AI or machine learning. I will go on to phase one on the next slide. Thanks, Miles. We call this Project X because we've gone through 25 evolutions on the way here. We began 9 years ago, and so this is not new. We've had several successes and numerous failures and treated the entire history as a learning experience along the way to a big win. We believe we're there right now. However, in 2021, after COVID, we decided to take a very dramatic approach, and we actually contemplated closing down the business. However, we continued a few more trial runs. Right at the same time that we decided to shutter the core business, our tech team came to me and my COO and said, we've actually just had a massive breakthrough. That was, believe it or not, in April of this year, right before we were introduced to Miles and Evan and the team at RCRT. So it could not have been more timely. This breakthrough, by the way, generated $3 million in revenues on a pilot program the first month out with our partner. And this evidence points us towards a $70 million year one run rate and profitability within 3 months. So coming in as we are into RCRT right now on the heels of this breakthrough, we think is extremely timely and extremely compelling to you all as shareholders of RCRT and subsequently GoLogiq. Phase 2, as part of this plan for fintech acquisitions, we plan to grow exponentially, and through this there are 10 acquisitions which we are in later stage with. We are attempting to close 3 of them at the same time as we go into RCRT. These acquisitions all fit into Project X, into the platform itself, and they also operate as standalone businesses that will grow significantly and also have strong gross profit margin profiles. This gives us presence in 2 of the most compelling emerging market regions in the world. One is Greater Africa, the other is Southeast Asia. Southeast Asia, by the way, our core team and I have been working in, myself 14 years, the rest of my team 10 to 20 years, and our incoming Chief Executive Officer, Granger Whitelaw, actually resides in Vietnam and has been working and investing and advising in Southeast Asia for over a decade. Next slide, thank you. Phase 3 is actually something that we've been fairly modest about. Oddly, it's become a huge buzzword, and many businesses have launched and many have rebranded themselves and are focusing on the advent of AI and how it's enabled their business. We actually built a platform 8 years ago that is the backbone of everything we do in terms of business processes. We just didn't call it AI. It's just a platform that has and does teach itself with input that comes in from either customer interaction or interaction from our team or advertising and marketing campaigns. And surprisingly, the recent popularity of ChatGPT, which is owned by OpenAI, has combined with Radix, and what it's enabled us to do is bring down costs significantly by not having to have a broad sales team or a large customer service team, and therefore the costs associated with it. Therefore, we're able to scale rapidly and attain very high revenue growth and a higher gross profit margin profile without the high cost of teams that scale up alongside. I think we missed a slide there, which was actually the financials. Yeah, I think that it was right in between the management one and the last one.
Brent, I'll come in here. Mm-hmm. I don't believe that it was in the presentation that we had for this webinar. So okay, perhaps we could include it in a 8K for sure, shareholders, because I don't want to do it on the fly.
Understood. Well, I can speak to it very quickly, so our viewers can at least get an idea of what our revenue ramp looks like. We're anticipating from July of this year until December growth that encompasses about 27 million in revenues with profitability in Q4. That's what is going into RCRT. We believe that we can scale that to close to 100 million in revenues next year with profitability both on an EBITDA basis and on a net basis as well. Going a little further ahead, we believe that several years out, we can approach the $250 million per year revenue run rate. And this will be generated by our core business, as we indicated, Project X and the fintech acquisitions that we're bringing in. Those of you who stay along for the ride, this would imply a very enviable market cap. As Miles just said, we can certainly outline that in an 8K and in subsequent presentations. Talking about the GoLogiq management team and our board, I would like to point out that Several of our board members and team are on the call now. I actually thought we were going to do a gallery viewing, but nonetheless, here's Granger Whitelaw, the former founder of Rocket Racing. He's also worked in investment banking and investing in and advising in emerging markets for over 25 years. We also have Candace Beaumont on our board of directors. She's the chief investment officer of Salsano Group, which is a $1.5 billion family office. They were an early investor in some of the more well-known unicorn valued companies that have come out of Silicon Valley and other Silicon Alleys. Uber, Airbnb, Palantir, and a number of other well-known unicorn valued companies. Candace is a lifelong investor and advisor to a number of them. James Keyes, the former global CEO of 7-Eleven stores, who led the company through their highest growth in history. Jim is on our board of advisors. And Sim Farrar, the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations and a lifelong U.S. government statesman and diplomat, especially since we're doing work in emerging and frontier markets. Sim has joined us as an advisor and is certainly a mentor to me. And of course, Granger is our incoming CEO, who will be taking the helm, and I will stay on the board and work on M&A and strategic initiatives. In summary, we are extremely excited about the merger with RCRT. We firmly believe that we will execute on growth and profitability, delivering shareholder returns and building the company into a billion-dollar enterprise over the years. Thank you.
Brent, thank you so much. To our shareholders and other audience members interested in learning about this company, I hope you can see and sort of understand our enthusiasm for Brent's business and his business plan. He's going to do great things, and it was a selective process. As Evan mentioned, we had a number of candidates to come into RCRT, and we felt that Brent's company was really a good prospect, has very strong potential for market appreciation. So thank you so much, Brent.
Thanks, Miles.
And now I'm very proud to introduce you to our new company, Cogno Group. Now, Cogno Group is what we call the spin-out. We have in this proposed transaction, we have our existing business, which is being spun out, and we are calling that company Cogno Group. This is the first time that we are publicly announcing this name. We are calling it that in order to both suggest the focus on artificial intelligence, which I'll go into in the coming slides, and also to reflect a multi-brand portfolio versus simply Recruiter.com. I wanted to go over the transaction just sort of once again. So GoLogiq, or certain assets of GoLogiq related to fintech, are coming into RCRT. RCRT is the current Recruiter.com Group Inc. That is our NASDAQ listed entity. Then we are going to spin out our current assets and liabilities, essentially our current operating business, into a new company, and that is to be called Cogno Group. We plan to have this listed, or I should say quoted, on the OTC markets. So again, all of the existing businesses, including Recruiter.com itself as an asset, will be coming into Cogno Group, and then GoLogiq assets, including Brent's team and his strategies, will be coming into RCRT. A little bit on our strategic plan. This is really already very much in place and in motion. The first part of our strategy includes a real emphasis on profitability. We started this process, I would say, in November of last year. We announced certain reductions in staff and certain divestments. And then this accelerated with our partnership with a company called JobMobs, which is a leading RPO in California, a recruitment process outsourcer. And that took a lot of our sales staff and certain operations and put that over to job mobs. And that continued to accelerate toward profitability. So this is very much underway. The second part of our strategy is really to look at all of our basket of current assets and ensure that we're monetizing those assets to its fullest potential. Each of the assets, and I'll describe that in the next slide, are revenue producing, but we are also looking, as we announced in a press release, at potentially selling certain of those assets, and we are currently in negotiations with a number of parties. It should be said, of course, that the results of those negotiations cannot be guaranteed, but we have announced those negotiations are underway. And then thirdly, and we think this is very important and represents really the future of the company, is to really focus on artificial intelligence enabled projects. So this is something that rather like Brent mentioned, Recruiter.com was doing rather advanced AI work throughout 2022 with our candidate sourcing software, but we do not intend to invest heavily in R&D, but instead rather look at smaller projects right-sized to the scale of our operations, maintaining that focus on profitability. And I'll go over some of our existing assets, and we've announced a number of AI-related projects already just this year. The current assets, and these are really our existing business. So our current operating business includes two major brands involved in recruitment and employment. That would be Recruiter.com and Media Bistro. Recruiter.com is an on-demand recruiting solutions platform. We provide recruitment and hiring experience to employers looking to hire great talent for their organizations across industries. And then Media Bistro is focused in the media sector. We're announcing some plans to shift the focus of Media Bistro to include all types of new digital media, including AR, VR, et cetera. But those two assets are in recruitment and the job board industry. The Job Mobs partnership is essentially a referral agreement, and this leverages the Recruiter.com brand and lead generation capabilities, and that has a $2 million minimum amount throughout the next coming years. We also have a healthcare staffing business, which is a legacy business, but it is a growing business because of macroeconomic trends. Healthcare is in focus across the country. Our AI focus includes a number of announced partnerships and also completely owned proprietary technology. Candidate Pitch, the first one of those, is an application that we have developed. I would say it's in the first version. V2 is coming out. And Candidate Pitch helps recruiters develop instant profiles of talent and candidates. And this is a software program that has customers. It's in the wild right now. Actually, I encourage you to go to candidatepitch.com, see it for yourself. It leverages the ChatGPT API from OpenAI and does some very interesting things with it. And we're going to continue to build this application and invest there. Recruiting with ChatGPT is a content course that we developed. We really did this to be on the forefront of AI and ChatGPT and really kind of leverage the really great interest in ChatGPT and AI in general. This trains recruiters and upskills them and also gives them certain AI-enabled tools to do their work of recruiting better. The Million Ways partnership. Million Ways is an announced partnership. They have developed a proprietary AI system which has emotionally intelligent AI. So what does that mean? It analyzes either text or audio and then can discern certain personality aspects of the person writing. So you can imagine there are some great ways to leverage this in the human resources realm. And we just announced last week a partnership with Million Ways to develop their product to the HR and employment market. This is a partnership which may have an equity component. we announced that we're currently in negotiations with them to acquire equity in their company through an equity swap. And then lastly, the AI Exchange Group is a really interesting discussion forum of over 1.1 million members. This is a AI forum, if you will, on LinkedIn. And we're going to use this not only to just promote discussion in the area, but of course, promote our products. And so this is going to be just a growingly important channel for Cogno Group going forward. That's the AI Exchange on LinkedIn, and I also encourage you to check that out. And then, Evan, here you go.
Thank you so much. You know what, Miles, before we talk about what's next, I actually could share a slide. I have the revenue slide. Brent, is Brent still on backstage? There you go. Hey, Brent. You know, to me, I love this slide, and it really shows not just about a vision of mobile fintech, but actually some real meat on the bones. So I found the slide. Sorry about the technical confusion there. You want to just walk the audience again through the slide? We have about 60 plus people on the call today.
Oh, certainly. So the core business, again, we call it Project X, but a slight amount of due diligence will reveal how we started out and how we named it before. But I think for all intents and purposes going forward, we'll just call it Project X. The revenue associated with that for last year is only about 5.2 million. This year, we're looking at a July through December revenue rate of about 21 million from that, heading into profitability 3 months out. The 6 million in green will be contributions from the fintech acquisitions that we'll be adding in. If you go into 2024, you start to see how the fintech businesses really start to ramp up, while at the same time, you still see significant growth from Project X. The two combined, again, we expect 104 million in revenue and profitability. The year after, for those who choose to stick around, I certainly will. We believe that we can approach $250 million in revenues, and that would imply an enviable market cap. And I believe that by then we'll certainly be seeing a valuations in the stock market that would be representative of valuing and enabling fintech businesses to grow and succeed. Thank you.
Thank you, Brent. And I couldn't agree more. So again, everyone, you could check out Brent's son, his LinkedIn. He's got a really just phenomenal background. And for those of you who have spoken to me prior to the call and throughout the journey as RCRT, you'd realize that driving revenue over 100 million, hitting profitability, and really being just a great player on NASDAQ is really fundamental to being a company on NASDAQ. And just cannot be more excited to get Brent and the entire team of GoLogiq as really benefiting not just GoLogiq, but really the RCRT shareholders. So Brent, thank you so much. Miles, you want to go back to the other screen? There you go. So what's up next? The process now is we have a proxy. You should be expecting that shortly in the next couple of weeks. The RCRT shareholders, assuming shareholder approval, will be getting the GoLogiq assets, which value the current RCRT market cap at $17 million, over 4 times the current market cap of where we are today. In addition, the RCRT shareholders will be getting shares in the OTC spin-out. The value, of course, will be determined there. And that was the Cogno Group spin-out that Miles walked through. So we're taking the RCRT shareholders, we're putting them in the hands of Brent and the GoLogiq team at a market cap for our shares at $17 million, 4 times where we are today. And we're taking the assets and spinning them down to an OTC to really be headed up by Miles and all the incredible AI stuff that's going on in terms of overall work tech associated with that business. Again, very excited for both transactions, and these are only for shareholders of record. And again, going back to the disclaimer at the beginning, there are steps along the way to get there, but we have just an incredible team over at Joseph Gunnar Associates, our legal team of Lakowski Bookman, really supporting this overall transaction. And we're very, very excited to be moving forward together with the folks at GoLogiq, and of course, towards spinning out the OTC as well. So there, we did this through StreamYard. I do not believe there are any chat questions that came in through the chat. I don't think it allows an open chat right now. If anyone has any questions regarding this transaction, we've disclosed as much as we can. They'll be filing an 8K with this presentation, as well as the transcript as well. You can email me, evan@recruiter.com. Email me directly, evan@recruiter.com, and I will try to get that information over to you as fast as possible. That's the best way to get in touch with me. If you have any GoLogiq related questions, Brent, how should they get in touch for GoLogiq related questions?
Brent@GoLogiq.com.
Cannot be more complicated. Cannot be easier. Thank you so much. Thanks so much, Brent. Again, anyone has any questions, feel free to email me, evan@recruiter.com or Brent@GoLogiq.com.
And Evan, sorry to interrupt. There are a couple of questions that just came in via one of the social channels, and I can ask them. I think this is really, the first one is really for Brent. I thought we might as well do this live. So Brent, Rich asks, are any of the acquisitions under LOI already?
They are.
That's it. I think that's all you can say. The short and sweet. Yes. And also, Alan, can you explain or give an example of GoLogiq current businesses and revenue projections, excluding future acquisitions? So I think Alan's getting to the existing business, how you might project that going forward versus the future acquisitions that are planned.
Certainly. So the core business, when we began back in 2014, it was and still is through a number of iterations and evolutions, an app that is enabling to micro and small businesses. And the way that we marketed it when we started out back in 2014 was through a partnership with a direct sales team, which had at the time 1,200 salespeople. We expanded that and grew that to 37 million in revenues in a very short period of time. We had about 93% cumulative growth over 4 years on that. However, our costs that were alongside that with the direct sales team and associated customer support, unfortunately scaled up alongside the revenue. So it was very difficult to head towards profitability. Over the years, we tried different iterations of digital marketing, still with the same results. And it wasn't until, again, in April that we had this breakthrough on the sales side and on the customer support side, which really is indicative of how artificial intelligence is enabling in a broad range of industries, and specifically for us. I can't say that it was just purely the whole ChatGPT platform. It was also the way that it was integrated in with Radix, which is our AI platform that we built 8 years ago. So in speaking to that, the revenues from this business alone last year were 5.2 million. This year we have restructured it for the first quarter of this year. What you'll see going forward from roughly July until December, we estimate to be about 21 million in revenue. So the 7 million on top will be additive from the acquisitions. Going into next year, we believe that we'll generate around 72 million from the core business. The added revenue from the fintech acquisitions will add another, I'm not looking at the slide, but I believe about 26, 27 million, taking us up to the north of 100 million in revenues. So I hope that illustrated it properly.
Thank you, Brent. Another question that came in was the timing on the SpinCo becoming public. The proposed spin out of Cogno Group and the subsequent quotation on OTC markets is essentially concurrent with the GoLogiq transaction, probably right before, but essentially concurrent. So this would be in the same transaction, and it would be in the proxy. So the long pole in the tent, if you will, is the shareholder approval. Hopefully everyone got a very good idea of Brent's businesses and what we have intended for Cogno Group. And so that will happen really all at the same time. And it could be essentially a couple of months. And then, sorry, one other question for you, Brent. Am I correct in thinking that current GOLQ shareholders will also own shares in another portion of the current business? So he's talking about your existing business, Gamma Ray. So would they still maintain that ownership?
Correct.
I think you might say yes. That is correct.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's all of our questions that we have for now. And so we're going to wrap up now. Again, thank you all very much for joining this presentation. We're very excited about this transaction. And as Evan mentioned, if you have questions, additional questions, please feel free to email Evan, myself, or Brent. You can reach us directly, and we will attempt to communicate very clearly to our shareholders throughout this process on any updates and developments. Again, thank you very much and have a wonderful evening.